can you start a motorcycle with a car battery or a car engine battery, as it were? Well, the reason why I'm making this video, because I keep on getting contacted by these power bank companies and these jumpstart companies, and usually Chinese, right? They'll say, look, do you want to do a collaboration with me? Do you want to, we really love your channel. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And I go, yeah, right. You haven't watched any of my channel, have you? But anyway, so I keep on getting these repeated offers, and I always turn them down. I say, no, I'm not really interested. But then I started doing a bit of digging this week and saying, what are these kind of power bank jump starts, jump packs? What are on the market? And actually, whereas before, like a few years ago, you'd be paying over £100, dollars, shekels, whatever, for these packs, these power packs. Now you can pick them up for 30, 40, £50, dollars, shekels, whatever it is. And they're pretty decent in terms of power output. But obviously now they've kind of expanded them a little bit more. So now they've got built-in compressors and lights and ability to charge your, phones and all that kind of stuff. So it's an all-round jump pack and power bank, for multiple uses, right? But then you kind of wonder, okay, well, let's just think about, and this is the question that I get asked quite a lot. Say, well, can you use a car battery or can you jumpstart your motorcycle from your car if you have a car? Well, the simple answer is yes, but you've got to be very careful because there could be an electrical load issue that could affect your bike. So, one of the standard arguments would be if you were starting a car, then what you don't want to do is have the other car engine on. You want to just have it as a flat battery, just as it is. So you got to be very careful. So it's the same with a motorcycle. You just want to make sure that you got a 12-volt battery on a car and you got a 12-volt motorcycle battery. Then you just don't turn on the engine of the car and you just jump it across. Now, I wouldn't say that's the best way to do it at all. But if you're in, that's all you've got, then, but there's a risk that you could electrically overload the bike. There is a risk. I'm not saying it is definite, but it potentially could be. Now, if you turn on the engine of the car, then all of a sudden you're charging the battery, and it could have a detrimental effect because you're screwing up with the electrics both on the car and on the bike. So just be very careful of that, and don't leave the jump cables connected for too long. As soon as the bike turns over and fires up, quickly disconnect them. Just get rid of them and disconnect the earth first, or the negative terminal first, and then the positive first. But what about the accessibility of the battery? Now, if you watch my channel for years when I'm talking about Harley Davidsons and my Harley Davidson and the Softails, because I get this repeated question in terms of how can I jumpstart my battery if it goes flat for whatever reason? How am I going to do it? Because on the Softails, for example, and many other motorcycles, the batteries are kind of hidden away. And especially they're kind of hidden away where in terms of the whole battery, having access to the battery. Now, let's say Harley Davidson Tourers, you take off the seat and the battery is right there, right on the top. So you can just put a jump set right on top of it and it'll be fine. But in terms of the Softails, it's hidden beneath. And many other motorcycles, Japanese motorcycles, it's hidden beneath. Or you put off a side panel and you've only got the one side, let's say the one battery terminal, which you could easily access. You have to take the battery out and then try and do a jump start. So the best way, I would say, the best way to do this, it depends if you can buy a motorcycle jump pack with starter cables, which you can attach to the battery. And then you have them as a permanent outlet, just like your trickle charger, your tender connection, right? But you have this purely as a jump pack. And you can do it, and you can do your own wiring for it as well. Now, the wiring has to be quite thick, right? It has to be quite a big gauge because it has to be able to take all that power from the battery as well. Otherwise, there's a good chance it will melt your wires. So, just consider when you've got jump cables, the jump cables are usually pretty thick, right? And when you're trying to jump start, a car to a car or a car to a motorcycle, you'll notice that those cables can get quite warm. There's a lot of power going through those. So one thing you want to check as well is what the amperage rating is on the battery. How much of that current is going to flow through. So just be, 12 volt to 12 volt. But if there's a mass discrepancy between the amperage rating of the car battery to the motorcycle battery, then just be very careful with that. It could cause a problem. I'm not saying it will, but it could cause a problem. So there's going to be a lot of power going through those jump cables. So actually, to have really tiny cables just coming off your battery to connect a jumper pack to, that's not wise. You need some thicker cables. Now, I suppose the best way to do this is, let's just say, whatever jump pack that you buy, you'll have a connector on there with a set of crocodile clip jump cables that go on there, right? Whatever the gauge of that cable is, those wires are, that's what you should have connected to your battery. So if it's, whatever it is, whatever gauge it is, if it's quite thick, then really that's what you should be. And that might be difficult to do as well, but it's just something that you're going to have to try and wire in. Now, some of these packs, have motorcycle battery connectors on them as well. So they come, they've already thought about it, but some don't. So you're going to have to fashion your own. So, can you start a motorcycle with a car battery? Yes, you can. Of course you can. Can you jump start it with a can? Got to be careful. Obviously, it's got to be 12 volt to 12 volt. Don't do a 12 volt to 6 volt or something like that. Do 12 volt to a 12 volt. Try and get them, make sure the amperage is okay. Don't have it connected for too long. Just kick over the bike or start the bike and that's it. Disconnect everything. And just be mindful. And if you can wire up permanent connectors to the battery, so all you have to do is just connect your jump pack to it, like a quick connect, and have that hidden away, then it's great. I mean, obviously, if you're thinking that you definitely going to need a jump pack, then you got to look at your battery health in the first place and how much power you drawing from the battery in the first place. And if you go back to one of my videos where I was talking about all the electrical systems on motorcycles, in this case I was talking about Harley Davidsons, but in terms of all motorcycles, you got to look at what's the max or the total output or the total amperage consumption of all your electricals if you were to use them at the same time, and what is being provided by the battery. And it could be that you just drain in the battery too much, so that you're going to have to what we call load shed, just switch, make sure you don't have all these other accessories on and only use them when you need it, and switch off other stuff if you need to use those accessories, if you're going to, make sure if you're going to have those on there. Otherwise, just disconnect them or get rid of them, off your bike. But if you're going to be using a jump pack on a regular basis, then it needs to be usable. If you're going to try and jumpstart your motorcycle battery, it needs to be accessible, right? So you need to think about that before you really start investing in these jump packs, or even think about trying to jumpstart from a car. You need to have an accessible battery first of all. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.